Hi, horses. Hello. How's everyone doing? Good evening. Mr. Girl is talking to you. That's right. Kind of dark. There we go. Well, things are okay with me. The Discord's blocked on your phone. I think there's a workaround for getting on an adults-only Discord on iOS, but you have to like sign up on your computer. Why was I late? I had a personal matter to attend to. You want to call about your marriage? Well, then you can join the Discord. Yeah, they'll tell you how to get around the iOS thing. But yeah, if you want to call into the show, join the Discord, and then talk to Baby in the requests channel. I've decided to add a Smash chapter to my big pedophile discussion video. So I'm trying to find pro Smash players, either involved in scandals, ex-Smash players involved in scandals, or anyone who is in it, has an inside knowledge and who wants to speak about the issues they've been having. So I'm just putting that out there in case anybody knows anybody. In case I have any pro Smash player viewers. Hi, Mr. Girl. I was saying I saw you on The Love Witch. Yeah, I was in. I'm naked in the movie The Love Witch. There is a weird thing that happened on the set. I've told this story before, but basically they wanted me to use a real knife to stab like right over a naked girl's chest, and I refused to, and held up the production for a little while. And then they got a rubber knife that looked terrible, so they just didn't use the close-up. I don't even know if they used the shot. But yeah, me and like a ton of other art models in LA. I was also in the pilot for Westworld because they needed like 500 naked robots, so they just hired every art model in LA to play a naked robot. I think I'm only in the background in like one shot, but I mean, I know I am because I checked. Go to a Smash tourney sometime over the summer. Try and get ranked. Easy content. Yeah, that would be fun. I have to get better. Can you stream with Foodie Beauty? She's scandalous. Or she scandalizes. She's scandalous. Yeah. I've heard of her. I don't know. Why did I refuse? Because if I missed the cup, I would stab a naked girl in the chest. It was just like an unsafe. It was like clearly like the director had just made this decision, but I was like, you guys haven't thought this through. This like we shouldn't be using a real knife. And then the assistant director was like, oh, he's right. And then the props master was like, oh, I didn't know you were going to use it for this. Oh my god! And then everybody was like, well, yeah, I knew it wasn't safe. We shouldn't do this. And then it like really quickly turned into a mutiny with the director being like, just fucking do it. It's not exactly what she said, but that was how it felt. Why did I move to LA? I wanted to be a screenwriter, but I shouldn't have moved to LA. Well, I don't know. I just failed. So I guess just because you fail at something doesn't mean you shouldn't have tried. Have you thought about enabling YouTube channel membership? I've missed the max stare emote and would love to pay $5 per month to post it in YouTube chat. Okay. I will. Yeah, I guess we can't use emotes on Twitch anymore because we have no Twitch. Sure. I'll enable memberships tonight and I will upload the emotes. It's a good idea. How's it going with my doll? The doll hasn't arrived yet. She's still being constructed. He told me 2 or 3 weeks. So the doll's gonna come on stream as soon as I have the doll. You'll meet the doll. Don't worry. Okay. Let me get in my office here. Mr. Girl's Inbox. There's a new channel in my Discord called Mr. Girl's Inbox. I've mentioned this before, but I'm transitioning to a public communications only model that I'm hoping other creators will follow to cut down on grooming and groomability. Are you smiling because you know we want the doll as much as you do? Nobody wants the doll as much as I do, but maybe. Baby emote or riot. All right, baby. We will make a baby emote. Well, I named the doll. Her name is Renee on the website. That's the name of the head, so I don't think that's fair. Can you have a date with the doll on stream? I guess I could stream from my phone. The only time Mr. Girl lies is when he says he doesn't love us parasocially. I don't love you. I love people. I love my work. I love, you know, I have love for the audience, but I don't love you. Mr. Girl is transitioning, but to what? Are you going to be mad when some of your viewers vote straight Republican in the midterms? No. No. I want my viewers to vote their conscience. I'll be mad if you don't vote for what you really believe in. Hey, Mr. Girl, why are you spreading false information on Twitter about the zero case? That is really odd, considering that you preach so much about having context and nuance. I brought up the zero case on Twitter because it's a perfect example to me of this thing where, especially in Smash, the Smash community, but all over the internet, all creators have access to minors, and the minors have crushes on the creators, and then they have private conversations, and those private conversations sometimes go into places they shouldn't. You probably shouldn't be having private conversations with minors in the first place. And it's a good way to show somebody who got dogpiled, and now somebody who is having a resurgence and who's suing the person who made these accusations. And it just shows that, like, either he's a horrible, terrible child molester pedophile, or he didn't do anything wrong and this person's a liar. But there's no view that's like, yeah, he did some things he shouldn't have done. Well, I'm not saying I'm the only person saying this, but this doesn't seem to be a popular opinion, that a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old are put in a situation that neither of them should probably be in. Where they're talking to each other alone, and one of them is in love with the other because they're famous, and then the other is taking advantage of that. My approach to criticizing this grooming these grooming situations is going to be heavily critical of the systems in place in the social media companies that enable these kinds of interactions. I don't know what false information you're talking about. I don't think I'm spreading false information. I'm confused by your staunch commitment to believe in nothingness after you die, when the fact is you don't really know. Nobody does. Also, you're a good man. Thank you for the $5. I do know. I know what happens after you die, and the answer is nothing. Yeah. There's just no other possibility. Right, there's a middle ground. He's neither monster nor angel. Right. I don't think, there's a reason we generally in society, we don't let 14-year-olds hang out with 19-year-olds alone. That's not generally something that happens. If you have a 14-year-old child and they say like, "Oh, I'm going to my friend's house," and you say, who's your friend? I haven't heard of this person." They say, "Oh, he's 19. He's my buddy." We usually say, "Well, no. You can't do that." And for some reason, social media companies don't feel the same way, or something. We just haven't. I don't want to blame them so much as I want to come up with a plan or a suggestion for how to fix this. And so first I want to fix things in my own house. So I think having public DMs that everyone can see instead of encouraging people to privately message me is one. Two, especially because of the nature of my content, my Discord is adults only. There are plenty of other possibilities. How can you be so sure? There are no other possibilities that are remotely supported by science. So when you eat a piece of chicken, are you thinking like, I wonder where the chicken is now? It's on your plate. That's it. Hey, Mr. Girl, what sort of culpability exists in the case of Boogie firing a warning shot at Frank Castle? This is great. I'm like becoming Judge Judy, and I just assign blame. If someone is harassing you, it is not legal to open the door waving a gun, and it is not legal to fire a warning shot, and it is super not legal to fire that warning shot at a 45-degree angle. Boogie is 100% at fault for that. I don't know if you own a gun or if you've gotten like a concealed carry permit, like the safety stuff you have to learn. They will teach you not to do anything that he did. How do you come to grips with the existential dread? I can't. I am pretty frequently tormented by that. Who was the most interesting woman you talked to on stream and the most interesting man you've talked to, in your opinion? I think the most interesting... People are interesting in different ways. So there's people who are like put on a show and just have lots of stories to tell and can just kind of go and they're funny and blah blah. And then I think the people I find more interesting are more vulnerable people. The most vulnerable interaction I've had with a streamer, I think, was with Stardust. I think the conversation we had where she interviewed me was like one of the more raw and unfiltered and honest conversations I've had on a stream. And a vulnerable man, Men aren't that vulnerable on stream. I don't know. My interview with Destiny was very. You could feel my attempts to make him vulnerable, clashing or falling flat. That is an interesting interaction. But I didn't get the kind of access to his mushy insides that I was exactly angling for. But I don't know that I have. Stream quality low for anyone else? Is the stream quality low? I reduced the delay. I think that might have reduced the quality. You talk to a lot of young people, teenagers, and college students. Is that by design? I think that's no. That's I think when I interview people, I tend to interview older people if they're like an expert in something, and then yeah, most streamers are people with audiences. If we're gonna swap audience chunks, most of them are pretty young. Okay, baby, I'm ready for the first caller. Hello?
Oh, hey there.
Oh, hey there. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, so I got some advice I'm looking for.
Okay.
So I'm generally a pretty guarded person,
Okay.
and a few months ago, I moved out of state, pretty much across the country. So now there's like nobody that I really know here, and I have a work from home job. So I talk to pretty much nobody, like maybe an hour or two at work, and then maybe like an hour or two a month I talk to my mom. Um, and I don't really feel much of a desire to seek out more social interactions, but I feel like maybe I should feel that desire, or I should just push through the lack of desire, maybe. Um, but I'm not too sure.
Is it like you have ambivalence, or like you want social interactions but you don't want to deal with certain parts of it, or is it like you just genuinely don't feel any desire?
Uh, yeah, I just generally don't feel any desire.
But you suspect that maybe this is something you need even if you don't desire it?
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's just not great for personal development and that sort of thing.
I think you probably need more social interaction too. I kind of think that the desire for it is separate from the need for it, and that some of us need it even when we don't want it.
All right, that would make sense.
It's like when you know you
So,
should eat when you know you should eat something but you're not hungry.
right. Yeah, I'm also really bad with that too.
So maybe you're not as in touch with your feelings or needs.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's any ideas on a good way to force myself into some good social interactions? 'Cause
Hobbies?
pretty much my only idea was like get a job or something like that. That's pretty much how I've done it in the past.
Yeah, through a job or through an activity, a hobby, groups, therapy.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
social interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the thing is, I did do that for a while, and then it kind of got to the point where I was same sort of issue, where it's like I kind of just have to go out there and force myself into interactions, it seems like.
Yeah.
That's all I really had for you.
Yeah, I think I think I think thinking of it like food could I think there probably is a hunger there that you could learn to access at some point, but I think you probably need it even if you're not hungry. Yeah.
To just push through it, and ideally, eventually, the desire to continue that shows up.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
All right. I'll give it a shot. Thanks.
Okay. You're welcome. You should want to do it. I don't know. I think I have experiences where I sometimes I'm like, hey, we have to socialize, uh, even when I don't want to. Just be social, bro. Okay. I'm gonna tell baby I'm ready for another. I'm saying be around people you want to be around. I know, but some of us don't want to deal with anybody sometimes. I get like that. So I imagine that's how he feels. Hello?
Howdy.
Howdy.
I'm having a stream. Okay. Yeah.
What?
Hello, Mr. Girl.
Hello?
I had the stream on like parallel to
Oh,
the.
yeah.
So let's get to the point. I want to talk about sex.
Okay.
I hope to get some advice from you, or at least your unique perspective on my specific situation.
On your unique perspective on your situation?
Yeah, your perspective on my situation. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So sex, I've had it involuntarily when I was 14, with my adult cousin, and I've started experimenting like since when I was 12 with other cousins or neighbors' kids, and I remember enjoying it a lot back then. It felt way more innocent. It felt like just kids exploring each other, not really knowing what they're doing. And since my negative experience, which was very coercive and violent,
Yeah.
I think that most sex, not all sex, but most sex I've had has felt pretty similar to rape and pretty unethical. And I know that this is something you touched on in some of your content, how rape is a spectrum, and even normal sex isn't entirely free of it. I just feel like I'm very hypersensitive to the rapey parts.
And you feel like you are the aggressor or the victim in these situations?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the BDSM part, like the explicit power play shit, the violence, the slapping, the daddy play. It's not always the other person who brings that into the sex. It's like I can't have sex without that part. But it also feels dirty. Not dirty. It feels like the what I mentioned, unethical. Like just because the person begs me to hit them as hard as I can, just because they really want it, that doesn't it still feels like it just in the same way that rape can be rape, even though the person begs the other one to fuck them. It feels very similar to that. So the question that keeps on popping into my head is, will I be able to should I just embrace that ugly part of sex? Should I just like lean into it? Or is like sex based on trust instead of control more something to strive for? What are your thoughts?
I think you might be oversimplifying it a little. I think it's seems clear on some level. You are reenacting your abuse. And
I agree. Yeah.
And to some extent that gets you off.
It does, yes.
It also makes you feel guilty and ashamed. And probably freaked out.
Inhuman.
It makes you feel inhuman?
Yeah. Like, it's
rape is pretty human.
But being aware of it and still doing it seems like extraordinary.
I don't know if it is. I think it's pretty common for victims of... Not even victims. I think it's common for people to sexualize and reenact bad experiences.
Yeah. So
I guess I'm what I'm trying to get at is that you're framing the question as though there is a resolution to this, and there might not be, at least right now. It might just be that you want to do this to scratch a certain itch, and that it freaks you out, and that it feels good and bad at the same time. It might be good for you and bad for you at the same time. And I would at least entertain that possibility so that you're not trying to force yourself into I think what I would avoid is every time you're horny, you're like, oh, well, now I want to do this. So this is just me exploring my sexuality. I'm sexually liberated. This is two consenting adults. I can do this. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing bad for me about this or bad for anyone. And then right after you get your rocks off, then you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, I don't need to do that. That's bad for me, and that's a horrible thing I did.
Yeah,
And
that post-nut clarity hitting, and
the
then
post
being
nut
like, oh
clarity,
shit.
right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I guess post nut clarity is not it's a misnomer. It's not really clarity. Um, there are things you can know when you are very horny that in some ways are more
That you
true
forget.
that you forget when you're not horny. Yeah. That's not one of them. Yeah, I feel like you're asking me which one is the real you, and they're both you. The post nut clarity you, like all of us, is being dragged through the horrors of what the horny us wants to do. And the problem is
So
that when you get off, the horny part of you abandons the other part for some period of time, which is usually a lonely, confusing experience. But they're both needs. It sounds like you just have, as many of us do, conflicting needs. You might
it's
need
also
to do
like
something and
uh,
need to not do something. Sorry, go ahead.
it's not just about me. Like there's also the other person involved, and I feel like boundaries, like as a society, we take boundaries in bed very seriously. Like
Yeah.
when we cross boundaries outside of bed, we usually uh, abuse is harder to spot as when it happens. Like, I'm preaching to the choir here. Yeah.
Yeah.
When so in bed,
Yeah.
there are a lot of subtleties when it comes to a person wanting something in a specific way, and when I'm aware that the person doesn't specifically want this thing, but there's this leeway, there's this backdoor that I can get away with it. I find myself finding a big urge to do it anyway, to like hit
To
them,
push.
yeah, to push boundaries, yeah. And the horny part of me, which I disavow, being very clear-minded and not horny as I am right now, um, uh, really likes that shit.
You like
It likes
you like the reluctance
I like the weird power rush it gives me when I
of
know.
convincing somebody to do something.
Let's say like I don't want to give a specific example, but like
Don't give a specific example.
I want
The specifics don't
the
really matter. I think what we're trying to figure out here is, are you saying you are breaking people's boundaries and then getting away with it, and that's what the power rush is?
I'm
Or are
gently
you
expanding them.
gently expanding them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am aware of where they are,
And
and
you put you convince the person to move them.
and I pretend that I'm not aware of where they are. Like I just hit them. It was just in the heat of the moment. Of course, I know that this isn't the arrangement that we made, and I do it anyway. And what I've observed from the from people I have had sex with,
Mhm.
it could be confirmation bias. I'm not sure, but even though people are
This is not the scientific process. You're aware.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I mean, this is not this study you are conducting would probably not pass peer review.
Yeah, it's only my perception of it. It's like
Okay.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to make sense of,
I
but
agreed.
people I've observed and the people who've had sexual experiences with me specifically is
Yeah.
I think it actually harms them without them being aware of it. Being wanting someone to rape you
Mhm.
and then having them do that, I think that really fucks with people's heads. I've observed people like actually being sad for bigger periods of times, after having sex with me, even though they seem to enjoy it at the moment. And
There's
we said we're not getting into specifics here.
Yeah, I don't want specifics. I think that you're I feel like it's happening right now. I feel like you're doing it in this conversation.
Am I raping you, Mr. Girl?
Kind of. Because you start out saying gently expand. First of all, you say you like to push boundaries. And I'm like, well, just for clarification, you're like, gently expand them. And I'm like, gently expand boundaries. Okay. And you're like, well, what I mean by that is I do something that we didn't agree that we were going to do. And I get a huge power rush from it. And I'm like, okay, so gently expand. Okay, so then you're moving what we're talking about into something I haven't agreed to talk to you about, and now you're switching it to they want me to rape them, and I do, and then they're sad for months. But if we look back at the outset of the conversation, the first thing you said was, I want to talk about,
Sex.
Mike. Yeah, I want to talk about sex. I just want to talk about sex, my particular situation. And you've somehow slowly moved it, or gently expanded the topic to be, you are now raping people and they are sad for months afterward. And you're like, so what do you think? If you're calling it rape, then I'll call it rape too. Then I don't think you should do that.
I'm internally wondering if this is if you really believe what you said, that I'm.
Yes. What?
Okay, so you believe that I have these subconscious patterns, possibly, where I
what I said about
boundaries.
Yes, I think in this conversation, you are doing it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I fail to see how, because I think it's still the same topic.
It's not at all the same topic.
Can you show me the difference? Can you help me see it?
Sure. At the beginning of every call, with every person who calls in, I have to feel out the parameters of the conversation. And that determines how I'm going to react, how seriously I'm going to take the situation. Like the last caller.
Yeah.
Was saying, should I socialize? Okay. And that, like, do you think I need to socialize, or do you think it's genuinely that I just don't want to? And that sets the stage for, like, okay, what's the scope of the conversation? What's the depth of the
expectations, the terms and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. What's our shared glossary for the terms we're going to be using, and how much is at stake? And every time I try to establish with you similar things that you'd want to establish when getting into bed with somebody. What is possible? What is not possible? What do I have to worry about? What do I have to give you access to? What am I asking for access to? These things are negotiated at the beginning of sex, just like at the beginning of a conversation. And what we started with was you saying, I am engaging in BDSM play. And I'm not sure if it's good for me. And a very
no.
Do you want me to answer your question?
But you've misunderstood. I don't want you to go off with that misunderstanding. If that's okay
I know that you're going to say I misunderstood, but that's part of what you're doing. A misunderstanding is a perfect excuse for breaking somebody's boundaries in the heat of the moment, to say, "Oh, I didn't know that's what we agreed to." So okay. If you want, you asked me a question. The question was, do I really mean what I said? Do I really think that that's what you're doing in this conversation? The answer is yes, and I can explain why I think that. But now I'm hearing that you don't want me to answer this question.
I really want you to answer this question, but I want to do this like with you instead of like I think
No,
it feels
I
pretty
don't know.
adversarial right now.
Yeah,
And
because
I
you're trying to
don't like
control.
it.
You're trying to. I know you don't like it. You can't control what I think of you. You can control if I tell you what I think of you because you asked me to, so I can answer. If you don't want to hear the answer, you don't have to. But you can't co-write the answer. No. It's adversarial because I'm holding boundaries and you're trying to break them.
I
So
will think about that.
your your choices are you can either hear my answer to your question or I cannot answer your question, but you can't co-author my answer.
I will let you speak. I'm sorry.
No apology necessary. I just have to hold my boundaries here. So and again, I'm not saying this is literally what you did or what you were thinking. I'm talking about let me put it this way. This is my experience of the conversation. So I do my initial fact finding, like, or sort of edge finding of like what's possible, what might happen in this conversation, what might not, how careful do I have to be, blah blah blah. And so the key data points I come away with from our first few interactions, and after some clarifying questions by me, are this is fetish play, BDSM play. You're feeling conflicted about it. You are pushing up against people's boundaries. And then, so you can imagine what kind of conclusions I would draw for like, okay, so this is this. I can think of the ways I can reasonably safely talk about this, safe for you, for me, and for the audience. And sort of make generalized statements that are pretty widely accepted that people reenact their abuse, blah 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 blah, whatever. That has drifted via you pushing it through pushing up against people's boundaries, gently expanding people's boundaries, and now you are straight up calling it rape. And I know that you're saying that people are asking you to rape them, but you've also already said that you're doing things that people have said were not part of the agreement. And so we're slow.
You know that I accidentally left the call for a minute or something.
Oh, okay. Well,
I-
you get the point of what I'm saying, right? Or what did you miss?
I'm not entirely sure that your last 3 sentences or something.
Okay. So basically, all I was saying is that it felt like we went from establishing that we're talking about fetish play that you feel guilty about, talking people into things and then feeling guilty about it, doing things that you didn't talk someone into and retroactively talking them into it, and now you're using the word rape, which implies that
Non-consent.
non-consensual. And I understand you're using it in the context of somebody wants you to rape them, so on some level they are consenting. But if they haven't actually consented, especially if you've explicitly made an agreement where they said not to do something and then you do it anyway, that is just rape.
I agree.
Okay. So in the conversation,
and the thought,
this
when I'm doing it, and I think it's in my experience, it's also hard for the other person when I'm crossing
sure
blurry boundaries. Yeah.
Enjoying being raped or being molested doesn't mean that it's not bad for you.
True.
A lot of people enjoy their abuse physically, or enjoy their sexual trauma physically.
I'm also
yeah.
I just want to mention when I fantasize about rape, which happens every time I try vanilla sex. I'm not always the person doing the raping.
I understand. I know. I understand that this is my view of this is that this is coming from a place of you feeling victimized, perhaps terrified, wanting ultimate control over sexual interactions, and maybe if you know that you're 100% in control, that's maybe the only way you can feel safe. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying that like there are a lot of ways to empathize with what you're saying and what you're doing and to understand it. And I think you should go to therapy and untangle some of this.
Yeah, I'm already at
And
therapy. I just really like the unique perspective you bring to this.
I would look. Yeah, I think you're. I don't think you should be breaking people's sexual boundaries. I think you should be really careful about that. And I think that with some therapy focused on this, you could get to a place where you don't feel the need to do that. But I do think you're doing it out of a kind of self-protection.
But I do want to push back a little against that point.
I'm sure you do.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that most of sex, I almost want to say all of sex because I haven't had the other type of sex, is not free of power dynamics, violence, and parents. I think those things are very hard to get out of the bed. And,
what was the last word? Did you say parents?
Yeah, the parents. Like,
okay.
We learn from a very young age from these people what love is and how to get it. And
okay.
I think it manifests in sex. I'm not an expert, but it's what I see and what I feel.
Yeah,
experience.
But there has to be an acceptable.
But wait, let me talk, please.
Okay, sure.
I just think the main difference between me and most people is that I am hypersensitized to those power dynamics. Just because I'm aware of very subtle boundaries, and I enjoy breaking them, and then I feel bad afterwards, and and also it has a negative effect on the other person. I feel like there's a kind of unfairness to it, because most people when they do it, they get to enjoy it without ever being conscious of it, and I don't like that.
Well,
why do I have to be aware of the ugly side of it?
Because you never got to be 14 the way a 14-year-old is supposed to be. 14-year-olds are supposed to break boundaries and be clumsy and not feel responsible for other people and not notice the things they're breaking around them. That's part of growing up.
Yeah.
And you're trying to do it now, but you and that probably goes beyond the sex stuff. And maybe you're trying to make up for it now by acting like a 14-year-old in bed. But the problem is when a 14-year-old does it, it's growing pains. And when an adult does it, it's a sex crime. So just for your own safety, you have to be careful with what you're doing.
That is sound advice, I think. But also, it's also a topic. It's one of your main topics next to pedophilia. It's boundaries, and how to learn to hold and respect them, and it's specifically in bed. I think the reason why therapy, and you've mentioned it like thrice or something in this conversation as well, is because I can establish a trustful relationship with someone. I wonder if I have sex in a relationship which has held for a year or something, where I have some basis of trust with that person. I've never had long relationships. I wonder if that could be a safe avenue for trying that, because conversational boundaries I can practice with a therapist, but sexual boundaries I don't know.
Yeah, but the sexual boundary stuff probably originates in some emotional boundary stuff from even before that in your childhood. So I think that you can practice both. But I think that I honestly think that learning emotional boundaries with a therapist will go a long way towards helping you with this.
All right. I'm currently in search for a good therapist. I'm trying. Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
Mr. Girl.
Thank you for calling in.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye. Someone said that the stream title is wrong and that it should be number 11. Is this true? Yes. I will edit the stream title to reflect the reality that this is the 11th episode of the Call-In Show. Which is your favorite beatitude? As always, prayed for you at Mass today. Keep fighting the good fight. I appreciate the thoughts and prayers. I don't know what a beatitude is. Should I look it up? Oh, thank you for the $10 too. Beatitudes, definition. The expression of beatitude the religious sometimes adopt. The blessings listed by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. The Beatitudes are saying attributed to Jesus, and in particular 8 blessings recounted by Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount of the Gospel of Matthew and 4 in the Sermon on the Plain in the Gospel of Luke. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they should be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I don't know which one's my favorite. Maybe the hunger and thirst after righteousness one. You promised to never gaslight us, Max, and now you did this. What did I do? Oh, the wrong number? I find your content very engaging and appreciate your work. Keep it up, bud. Thank you, Nikolai. Did I completely zone out and miss the end of the conversation with the last caller, or is it still going? The call ended. You zoned out. It was too disturbing and your brain shut off. Welcome back. I know you're only playing about me gaslighting. Daddy would never gaslight you. You know that. Just don't make the safe word harder. Yeah, that's a good call. All right, baby. I'm ready for another one. Do I care about you? Yeah. A lot of my content is about trying to make the world a better place and help people. Hello?
Hi.
Hello. You're quiet, so let me turn you up.
Okay.
Okay, talk more.
Hi. I, um,
That's perfect. Perfect. You're still pretty quiet. Is there anything on your end that you think you can do to turn up your volume?
um, this, does this help?
Yeah.
Oh God. Now are you getting an echo from yourself?
No.
Okay, cool. Then, I guess it's fine.
Sounds like
Oh,
it's not fine.
okay. I'm not that tech savvy, I guess.
Does it sound okay to you?
Yeah, sounds fine to me.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay. Um, so hello. I, um, am, um, So I am an adult person uh, who was um, misdiagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder when I was 13 or 14. Um, I was raised in a pretty, like at least when I was in middle school into high school, I was in a pretty isolated environment of just single parent and just me, abusive, uh, sort of emotionally abusive um, single parent environment. Um, I there was a so when I was at that age, and then um, as I kind of grew up with had therapist, I had a psychologist. There was sort of an ambiguity about whether I was had bipolar disorder, as has been diagnosed at that point a while ago, or just had depression. There was sort of a constant concern that I might um, be or might like become psychotic at any point, or might like become manic at any point. Um, I um, I was on the minimum dose of a antipsychotic, and my psychopharmacologist, because he was a psychopharmacologist, not a psychiatrist, um, told me when I was 15 that he didn't think that I was bipolar. He didn't think I needed to be on any medication, but that he was afraid that if he took me off of the minimum dose of Seroquel, my mother would um, would basically fire him and take me to another doctor who would quote unquote drug me up. I um, have not been I've never been diagnosed with bipolar disorder except um, by one that one particular diagnosis when I was again 13. I think it was like late 13. um, at, um, and I see a therapist. I have had been assessed multiple times. No one else has um, thought that I have bipolar disorder. No other mental health professional has thought that. I continue to have a fear of being manic, or hypomanic or whatever, or just that I have everyone convinced that I'm not bipolar, but I actually am bipolar, and I'm, um, like, I don't know, just uh, that's my cat. Um, I it continues to affect my confidence, um, And I thought that you might empathize with the experience of people questioning your sanity. And I, yeah, I just wanted to know, I guess I have two major questions. My first question is, have, when other people have questioned your sanity, have you ever questioned your sanity? Is the first question. And the second
Yes.
question, cool. That makes the second question more relevant, which is, how do you cope with that? How do you stay confident? How do you commit to your ideas when you have ideas that are um,
Insane.
quote unquote, yeah,
There's a lot of moving parts in when you're deciding whether you're sane or something you're doing is sane. Like, one, everyone has some insane thoughts that don't make sense. Two, sanity is relative to what everyone around you thinks is sane. And so I guess you have to figure out like what rules you want to follow and what rules you want to break. So sometimes when people call me insane, my retort is like, well, I just don't agree. I agree I'm breaking some social norm here, but the problem is the norm, not what I'm saying.
mm-hmm.
Or is it that I want to break the norm, and so it's not insane because I'm choosing to break this norm. I want the norm to stay, I just want to break it. I think that I think ultimately, given all of the moving parts, you might have to acknowledge that that stamp of sanity that you are looking for might not exist.
Mm.
There might be no number of professionals who can tell you that you're not bipolar, who will make you really believe it.
Yeah.
I think you're having trouble figuring out where you end and your mother's idea of you begins. And like how to exist in your own mind rather than in just hers. And if you go on a lifelong crusade to combat her thoughts by soliciting the thoughts of other people that you hope will act as like an antidote,
Mm.
you're simultaneously spending a lot of time thinking about her thoughts.
Yeah. That
I guess I would take a step back and try to figure out why you want to know the answer to this question so badly. Is there some implication that if she's right about you, then that justifies how she
Oh,
treated you? Or
no, I don't think she's right about me.
so what does
Um,
it matter if you're bipolar?
I think I think what I'm really worried about, I think what's really the reason why I'm really asking this question is because I see the confidence that you have and the way that you're able to sustain your confidence. Um, I'm I'm not able to permanently sustain my confidence, uh, at least not yet. Um, I'm not going to give up on that forever, but I worry that there's like, because I definitely what I really have is an anxiety disorder. I I'm
Would it
just gonna
isn't permanently sustained confidence mania?
no, mania is inherently temporary, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I
I
mean,
guess
like
I don't know.
somebody's permanently manic
If I told
bad
you
thing.
like if I told you I am 100 I'm confident all the time. If somebody said that to me, I would probably think they were bipolar.
Yeah.
I know it feels very toxic to you, but I think doubting your sanity is healthy.
Hmm.
I think you're aiming for again a level of surety about your sanity that in order to combat being gaslit,
Hmm.
um, I think you're overshooting.
Yeah.
Like it's normal for people to be panicked sometimes,
Yeah.
and it's normal for people to feel and be kind of insane sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in me, what you might be seeing is more an acceptance that I know that I'm flying blind sometimes, and I don't exactly know what I'm doing, or if what I'm doing makes sense,
Hmm.
rather than me knowing that I am sane. I think I might just be more comfortable with the idea that I can't really. It's not something I can reassure myself about.
How do you how did you develop that? What experiences were most important to you?
I don't know. I remember in college after getting arrested for talking about the Virginia Tech shooter. I remember my friends being like, "You seem like you think that you're a mass shooter because people are saying that. It seems like they're convincing you," and I think they were. Even with the cuties thing, I think part of me is like, "Shit, maybe they're right."
Uh,
I don't know. Maybe comfort is not the right word. It's more just pain tolerance. I don't know. Maybe I've just learned to stomach it,
yeah.
or maybe I just throw up. Also, wait. Hey, you know that you don't see me when I don't want you to see me.
Yeah.
So let's acknowledge that too.
Hmm.
Yes. We can acknowledge that you see that I am still going and I'm not derailed or crushed into submission by this. But you don't see me at my like most out of control low points because I don't broadcast those.
Hmm. I guess maybe that's what I'm asking is, I guess I
How?
imagine that to deal with all this stress, you do something like I don't know, like I don't know, like jump in like an icy bathtub or something like that, like something to purge
No, I do the
all
same
of it.
insane. I scream at my girlfriend insane things, or I
Yeah,
just feel bad about myself, or forget to sleep and take care of myself.
yeah.
No, uh, I'm more insane than you're giving me credit for.
Cool.
I guess my advice is that I don't know that you can undo the gaslighting and the way that you're trying to undo it.
Yeah.
Like if you can tell your child, if you can project your mental illness or problems onto your child and tell your child that they're the ones who are mentally ill and that they need to be on antipsychotics, and you're their only parent, and somehow the child can survive that but not be fucked up, then there would be no reason to be a good parent ever. It did fuck you up.
Fuck yeah.
And in a weird way, if you go around trying to prove that it didn't, then you're almost defending it.
Cool. I think it's the I this is maybe sort of like an old demon that has come back uh in a different form when I uh um uh learned it learned kind of in depth about um I'm trying not yeah, when I learned about the genetic basis of mental illness, um because when I was um I didn't accept that I'd been abused until I was 17. And then at that point, really when I was 19, I had a really wonderful therapist who worked with me. Um, and then that was kind of my like mental health identity for a while, was the PTSD sort of identity.
Yeah.
And then in my mid 20s, was going back to school and was like, I can't get shit done. When I was a child, I was almost diagnosed with ADHD, and then got re-diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. Um, and and then yeah, I've ended up kind of learning a lot about psychology that um, has made me look more into my own um, my own differences from the norm on a biological level rather than my experiences. But it is actually objectively true that both of those things are a major contributor. So I think maybe in the kind of obsession with uh, obsession, it's in
It
the
sounds obsessive. It sounds like you're
yeah,
obsessively trying.
I'm an obsessive
You're
ass person.
clearly you're trying to figure out what part of your mother you can't escape ever.
Yeah, probably. Um, it means a lot to hear you say that. It means a lot to hear your response, though, as yeah, I've lost that kind of respect for myself as a survivor, I guess. That um yeah, I think that's a key ingredient.
You've seen Hereditary, right?
No, because I my friend briefly
Ooh,
described it and I knew it would be
no,
triggering.
yeah, I think you should watch. That's my advice. Is that you should watch Hereditary.
I should watch it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta face this.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Cool. I like homework.
Probably not alone.
Mm,
Watch it with your friend.
I can do that. I can get a crew together.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like that's it, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Max.
You're welcome. I just passed my kidney stone, for fuck's sake. That was awful. Why are kidney stones funny when they happen to other people? But the idea of it happening to you is the worst fucking thing. Wow. I'm sorry to hear about your kidney stone. It's one of my worst fears. It sounds comically painful. Oh, terrible advice. Link to the Discord. Discord.gg/mrgirl. We'll give you an invite. $2 from Luficarius Radspeed. Should have a series called Mr. Girl's Fear Factor. Yeah. This is my third one in 6 or so years. Damn. That's horrible. Kidney stones are worse than birth. Well, after you pass a kidney stone, it's not like you have like a little baby that you love. You just have a kidney stone. I'm gonna drink some water. Yo, Max. So the real question: Goku or Vegeta fan? Thank you for the $5. I don't watch anime. I'm not against it. I just don't. The closest thing to watching anime is that I play Smash. Okay. Baby. I'm ready. I'm ready for another. Hit me, baby. Hello? 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 You're not talking. You're not talking. I'm gonna DM baby. You're not gonna talk, I'm gonna DM baby. You're gonna get in trouble. You better say something. I'm gonna talk to chat until baby sorts you out. You getting any continued harassment from having the VP rep on? No, I've gotten a bunch of I've gotten probably 5 emails from different pedophiles though. Or yeah, I think they're all pedophiles being like one person who is sort of involved in virtuous pedophiles was like, I want to go on and I want to do a different interview, and I don't care if it gets me fired or screws up my relationship with virtuous pedophiles. Hello? Does baby
Okay, hello?
Oh, hey, man.
I'm sorry. Something wrong with my phone. Should I just jump
Okay.
into the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm very religious. I can expound on that if you wish. And I think I need therapy. I'm sure you'd say I need therapy.
I'm sure I'm going
But
to.
I can expound on that if you need, but I'm pretty sure I need therapy.
Okay.
The question is if I should go to a therapist who's also religious like me, or if I should seek someone that's like less possibly biased in this sense. If they're not religious, they're gonna probably not gonna understand why I'm gonna be like why I'm gonna approach certain issues a certain way. But if they're also religious, they might not see certain things that might not be the most common in the religion to approach the issue. So I'm wondering how I should approach that.
My view, well, I'm an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking me what I think. So let's acknowledge that that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were an atheist and then a religious person who you think just believes in a made-up god with a bunch of rules for no reason in a like repressive traditionalist community, if somebody asks you like, do you think I should find someone from that community or not, you'd probably be like, I'm obviously going to tell you that you should not specifically find a religious therapist. I think that's, we know
I agree.
we
I agree
both
from like
know
an
I'm going to say
ideological
that.
perspective. Yeah, from like an ideological, like who's going to
So
give the better advice?
okay, so
But
you want an explanation for why I'm going to say that.
I understand your explanations why you would think that like a religious therapist would be better at like giving therapy. But like from if
I'm
just
just saying,
just
I'm just acknowledging that you know what my answer is going to be, and you're more asking why is that my answer.
um I think your answer.
You
I
know
guess
that
yeah.
there's no,
I
you know
think
there's
your answer
no
is going to
way
be.
I'm gonna. There's 0% chance I'm gonna be like, I think you should see a very religious therapist. You know I'm not gonna say
I
that.
maybe I'm coming in with the wrong perspective, but I think that like if somebody is religious, I don't think you're trying to change what I believe in this conversation. Um, what would be the best way to approach somebody who, like, the problems, it's not like they don't stem from the religious practice, but like part of the religious practices do do affect the way you're going to approach the issue, right? I
Yeah.
think within that, like, I don't know, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking you. I think, is it better to be entirely stir away from somebody's religious, or is maybe like
Yeah,
having like
I
two
understand
therapists?
the question. Will you chill out for a second?
Okay.
All right. Let me fucking get my bearings here. Listen, I think that some people, when thinking about therapy and what kind of therapist they want, it's very common for people to be like, I'm a man, and so I want a man therapist because a man will understand man things or whatever. Or like you want to see Dr. K because you're a gamer. So you want to go to Healthy Gamer because I want to talk to another gamer because I'm a gamer. So my view is that empathy is when you can understand somebody and give perspective to somebody and help somebody who is. It sounds like you're just trashing your room while I'm talking.
I think my input's really high. Sorry.
Well, I told you to chill out, and you're like breaking a chair over your desk.
I just moved the chair slightly.
But that's okay. That's an understatement. My point is that an empathetic therapist should be able to help you and take care of you, even if they are very different from you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that. I don't think that.
Wait, you're super quiet. What is going on?
Shoot.
I would turn you up, but I'm scared.
Okay. I turned myself up higher. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that a non-religious therapist is not going to be able to treat me. It's also, I don't know how much you know about like Orthodox Judaism. It's not that like being religious is like a plus. Like, oh, they're gonna be religious. They're gonna they're gonna be the same as me. It's more like a lot of the things that happen uh within some of the issues I have are like something that like you won't understand somebody that's like, I am absolutely not willing to do anything that's in violation, that's going to be done on a Saturday. Like that's a non-negotiable for me. I It's very,
I don't
very
think you
rare for
need a
somebody.
special fucking therapist to understand that you don't do work on Saturdays.
Right.
I think
I don't think a non-religious therapist can understand that, but like I think that a lot of what comes out of like the issues that I think I might need to go to therapy for are quite necessary to not necessary but beneficial um uh to to help.
okay.
I don't know.
I don't know much about Orthodox Judaism or religion in general.
Mm-hmm.
My sense though is that it is a pretty insular community, and that having somebody who thinks outside the box, even if they're not trying to get you to not for the purpose of convincing you to do things you don't want to do or that are against the rules, but just for the purpose of helping you think differently in ways that are not part of that insular community, I feel like could be helpful.
Sure, definitely. Um, the second question, follow up. If I should get a non-religious therapist, do you think for certain issues that I think would be better addressed by a religious therapist, should I have like two therapists? I know a lot of people, especially like with the online therapy. 'Cause I'm personally not opposed to it. I don't know people are. I don't understand if people are really opposed to it. Like I can just have like another therapist that I talk to some other time. Do you think that's worthwhile to like have both perspectives in a situation like that?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's fair.
I uh I can't answer that because um when you go to therapy, you're trying to figure out what's happening. You're trying to figure out how you feel about it. You're trying to figure out what you think should be happening and what about your surroundings you want to try to change, what you want to go along with, what you want to disagree with, what you want to speak out about. And it's really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
With
I don't
something
know, I
like
feel like
Orthodox
disagree.
Judaism. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think that like the issues I have, it's not like I don't like I there's a way I want things to work. I understand why certain conflicts in my life happen and how um um how theoretically we could avoid them. I don't know if like the biggest issue I have is like how to properly solve the situations I have. Like
Right,
that's
right, but okay, but an Orthodox Jewish therapist is going to say, I know that these are the pieces of the puzzle that are movable,
mm-hmm,
and these are the pieces that are not. And with something like
right.
Orthodox Judaism, there's a lot of pieces that are going to be seen as not movable or not addressable or just things you wouldn't do or shouldn't say or shouldn't think. Whereas a
I disagree.
secular
So if I'm talking to you, you're not the most like or described as like the right thing for me to listening to by a lot of people.
yeah.
It's not that like my community, it's not extremely insular. It's pretty insular. Like we like I'm not spending my time, going to like bars and like partying. But like the sect of Judaism I'm part of, like the big thing is outreach and going out to the world that's not, a giant community full of Orthodox Jews. And most of the people that probably go into that Orthodox Jews as well, they wouldn't be like living entirely surrounded by Jews, never speaking to a non-Jew in their life. It's really a like Jewishness where there really seems to should not be Judaism, right?
Okay, but
So
there's still a wall there,
right, that's true.
right? Like I've met Persian Jews in Beverly Hills
Mm-hmm.
who have lived there for longer than I've been alive and yet can't speak English.
Right. Yeah.
Or Persian Jews in their 20s who have traveled the world and lived in other states, like lived in like rural like Idaho for 6 months or a year for some reason. And then
Mm-hmm.
but then they come back seemingly completely unchanged.
Uh-huh.
So I understand what you're saying about outreach, but I feel like people in traditionalist religious groups, there's a level of like, yeah, it's great to meet you and get to know you and understand you, but fundamentally, we're there's a gap between us that must remain. And I feel like with your
Mm-hmm.
therapist,
Do you not think that gap is going to be an issue if like I'm trying to like get therapy from that person?
I think it is going to be an issue, but I think you're going to have to decide whether you want to lower that wall for this person or
Mm-hmm.
or not.
I personally feel like I don't have a wall. Again, I'm talking to you. But like,
You're talking to me, but
right.
you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you specifically, but you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I see it all the time.
So so the reason I don't want to answer your question about whether you should see a religious therapist in addition to a secular therapist is I don't know how important that wall is to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that
Interesting.
it's a defining wall. It doesn't. The only way to have your group be what it is also to define people as outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like with your therapist, ideally you get to a place where you're like very close.
Mm-hmm.
And is that going to be very close with an asterisk of like close, but you're not a Jew? Or is it going to be just very close? And I think that will kind of determine whether you need the stopgap therapist to help you answer these questions.
Mm-hmm. Do you think if that remains like we're close with an asterisk, if that's something that I can't overcome and like I can't really open up like how it's like feeling when a situation arises because like oh you're not gonna understand, is that a situation where like I feel like the issue is it's difficult. I'm not like every I think there's a lot of like differences within the religious people.
Sure.
Um, so like I don't know if it's something that like it could be really fixed too much.
An Orthodox Jew, where you are today, is a very different thing from an Orthodox Jew 500 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the traditionalism and the desire to preserve and not change, people do change. Like if you could go back in time 1,000 years ago and live among Orthodox Jews, you would fit in to some extent, but also in some ways you wouldn't.
I'm not sure about that. I feel like in most aspects of the differences, the things that really changed are a product of the times.
I know, but the times. The only
Like,
reason
like
the only reason the time is different is because people change on an individual level.
I feel like that comes first before like I don't know how to say it. I feel like if you drop me like 500 years ago in a like a village with like a phone, it'd be different. But if I didn't have a phone, I feel like yeah, like a lot of aspects, like I had to grow up
You don't think
religious,
that
for
you don't
example.
think that you would be like, this seems a little backwards, guys, to some things?
I don't know. I know pretty well about history and the things that changed. Um, hmm. I feel like it wouldn't be too much different from like I think it's different because like in a secular world, like you really can't drop in a Joe Schmo from the street into Joe Schmo in the same city 500 years ago because it would be like there would be no like analogous person. But
Mm-hmm.
you can drop in a Orthodox Jew living today and an Orthodox Jew living 500 years ago because in most aspects they're the same type of people.
I don't believe you. I don't think I could have this conversation with somebody from the year 1522. I don't think we'd be having this conversation at all. You're saying an Orthodox Jew in 1522 is going to be like, "Hey, do you think I should see a religious therapist?" No,
Probably not.
fuck no. There
Yeah.
would be no way.
If there was the existence of an option, I don't see why not. Actually, no.
Yes, you do.
I can't think this like
Okay,
out of like
here's my point.
like,
Let me just go through my point, and you don't have to agree with it or disagree with it. My point is, I believe societies change and people change and groups change, even if the point of the group is to not change. The group still changes differently and slowly, but it still changes, and that
mhm.
change is a good thing. And yeah, no matter how conservative you are or how conservative your group is, it's still going to change, and that change is probably ultimately a good thing, and that the way that change happens is on an individual level by people figuring out their place in the group, what they want the group to be like, and how they want to interact with it.
Mm-hmm. I think yeah. There's a big thing about like the values not changing, but the individual is changing. Like it's okay to like view like cell phones and like spending time interacting with the world in a more physical sense, but it's still important to like uh, like keep the commandments of the Bible. If that's um that fundamental thing is important, but the way we express it in the world is going to change. It's not that there's something wrong with changing it. Um, like the dress of like Orthodox Jews, that's not like the dress of Orthodox Jews 2,000 years ago in
Right.
Jerusalem. It's a dress of like the poor people in Europe 300 years ago, or in some groups like the dress of like rich people 60 years ago. So it's not like you can't change.
So I think
Um,
therapy will change you. That's the point.
mhm.
And the more a Orthodox Jewish therapist will change you less. Probably.
Mhm. Do you think change itself is good, or that the change that we've had is good?
Well, I'm a like a progressive for the most part. So
Societally and
I would
progressive.
rather make changes that are wrong and then learn from the mistakes. A conservative is more like, let's stick to what we know and slowly inch along. When we make a change, it's really got to be proven to me that it's a good idea.
Hmm.
So I'm pro change, at least for myself on an individual level. I'm much more likely to just sort of experiment with things and go through trial and error. A
Hmm.
conservative Orthodox Jew is much more likely to subscribe to the idea that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's true, yeah. Hmm.
I don't think one is better than the other.
Right. I have another question. I'm
Okay.
forgetting the question. Um, in conflict with like a within a family, is it
Yeah.
something that's best addressed? It might be too broad of a question. Is it best addressed like with couples therapy, family therapy, or does it make sense to address it on a personal level with a therapist?
I would talk to an individual therapist first to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how you feel and what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you'll have a clearer idea of whether how you want to ask for what you, so clearly you want something to be different, and so you need to figure out how that is and what that is and where you want to end up and how you're feeling about it. And then if your family isn't going to respond well to that, um, or if it feels like it's like, three against one or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, then yeah, I think a family therapist can help kind of moderate that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there's anyone who doesn't need therapy?
Um, I think there are people who need therapy more than others, but I don't think there's anyone who couldn't benefit from therapy.
But needs therapy?
I would say
What
if
do you
we're
what do
gonna,
you really?
I would say need is when you are starting to lose function in your life. So like you need therapy when you can't eat, sleep, have sex, go to work, have friends, stuff that like we think of as basic functions. I think that would be a good place to label need. Like you need to go, you
Mm-hmm.
have to
So
go.
the people that you tell often to go to therapy, they need to go to therapy, but they benefit from therapy.
Yeah. Well, some of the people who call in actually are like
Yeah.
they really are
Mm-hmm.
getting to a place where they're starting to fall apart. But
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like you can also make an if then statement. Like if you want to figure out XYZ, then you need to go to therapy. Or I think it would be has a very good shot at helping you figure it out.
What do you say to the people who think that therapy harms them, like intrinsically? I personally think this. I'm just curious.
I guess I'd question their definition of harm, but you could acknowledge in a very traditional, very conservative community, you can see why getting to know your innermost thoughts and feelings and sharing them with somebody outside your family who is not going to have the kind of religious and traditional safeguards in place with how they talk to you about it. Because if you talk to someone in the community, they're going to recontextualize everything you say back into the fold. And if you talk to somebody outside the community, they're, if you say like, oh, sometimes I have thoughts where like I think I might be gay, someone in your community is going to say, well, that's actually not surprising. You think you're the first person to come here and tell me that happens all the time, and all we know, here's how we know how to handle those thoughts and feelings, and we know how to blah 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 blah. Someone outside the community is going to say like, yeah, maybe you're gay. And so like from a very traditionalist standpoint, you can see how if part of the glue of the community is that people are not in touch with their deepest, darkest thoughts, and they're not shared, and they're not accepted in the same way that they are in like San Francisco, then you could define it as harmful. So I think I would acknowledge their definition and just say, I think your definition of harm might be change. And if you think change is harmful, then maybe it is. I don't see it that way, but
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good. Good night. Bye bye.
All right, bye. You are privy to a great becoming. You owe me all. Yes, because therapy is filling a gap in our society that used to be filled by priests, bartenders, and other people we'd have deeper conversation or deeper relationships with than we currently do. The Jewish community acknowledges that there's people who are gay, though. Sure. I was just kind of using it as an example of the way a secular therapist might push you, or certainly guide you, or freely allow you to drift into being bisexual or gay, whereas a more traditionalist therapist might be like, can you make do with a lady? Could you do it? And then if you're like, yeah, I guess, then they're like, okay, great, you're straight. But that's just my perception. I don't have a lot of insider knowledge there. Red Dragon. Yeah. I'll use a Red Dragon clip next week when I announce the stream on Twitter. Let me write that down. I have to take all these notes to myself now that I'm doing all this streaming stuff. I've making so many different videos at the same time. Red Dragon. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. How long have we been live? An hour and 50 minutes. Carl Jung seemed to think of confession as prototherapy, where he dived into the psychology of the alchemical writings. Thank you. Confession as a prototherapy. Oh, like priest confession. That makes sense. Could you make do with a lady? And it is not very good salesmanship. Bad dragon. Yeah. Get one of those puppies for my doll. Should give me a what for... Okay. Let's do one more. And that when the world moved away from the religious, him and Freud were seen as taking over that spot in a Newtonian world. That makes sense. People need to not feel like they're alone with their sins and secrets. I think that makes a lot of sense. What kind of bad dragon would you get? A challenging one. You mean what kind? I'm gonna take this call. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. So I am asking for advice, basically about how to help out some of the kids in my family. Recently, I think he went away about a year ago now, but my cousin went to prison, for raping his daughter on like 2 separate occasions. And there's 6 kids ranging from 16 to 2. And, you know, our whole family pretty much is kind of at a loss for how to best help out in that situation, aside from like making sure basic needs are met. Because I feel like it has to be more than nothing. And, you know, everybody's doing the best they can, but yeah.
They're living with their mother?
Yeah.
How long is he going to jail for? Approximately?
The maximum sentence I want to say is until he's 17. So that would be, I think a max of 4 years, something like that. 4 or 6.
How old is he?
He's in his early 40s, I want to say. Late 30s, early 40s.
Are they getting divorced?
No. Yeah, they are. They are still together and probably always will be. They're kind of a match for each other in health.
Through thick and thin. Okay, so can you tell me about where you're at here?
Yeah,
I feel like this has to do with you. Your question has to do with you, but I don't know anything about you.
Sure. I'm 25. I'm, their, I guess their second cousin. Um, they're my cousin who went to prison is my dad's first cousin. So these
Okay.
are, yeah. Um,
Do these
you
people
know,
like you?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We all get along for the most part.
The mother likes you?
Yeah.
Okay. You're asking me what you can do? Or what their mother should do? Or what somebody should do?
I guess mostly me. Like I don't think I can't control what their mother does. And she's not a good person. So there's nothing any of us can do about that really. Except for like, make sure she's not, fucking them up farther. But like, I guess I'm mostly asking if you were me in this situation, like, what advice would you have for them, especially the oldest ones? And well, obviously the daughter, of course, but like the oldest ones are really struggling right now. It's all boys except for the one girl. Um, yeah.
And they're looking to you for advice.
I mean, they've never like come up to me and said like, "Hey, what should I do?"
But you were in a
know.
position to
Yeah,
talk to them.
I'm in a yeah.
And when the father gets out of prison, he's coming home.
Well, he's not allowed to be in the same house as his daughter. Um, what that means, I don't know. As far as like what those living arrangements will be.
That not allowed by social workers.
Yeah. Unless she approves it. I think that was the deal. Like she can be around him if she chooses to.
You're in a horrible situation.
Feel like I am. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm watching a horrible situation unfold.
That is a horrible situation.
I suppose so.
I mean, it sounds like they're in a family system that defines raping your daughter as not that big of a deal.
Yeah. And I've heard that their mother has explicitly said to their daughter, like, this is all your fault, And the oldest recently, in what my dad called a manic episode, I don't know that I would, said that he was saying he regretted calling the cops on his dad and all this. Yeah.
Have you told this to Child Protective Services?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And they have been involved and proved them to still all live together.
They shouldn't do that.
Agree.
Okay. So I think for your own sanity and for the safety of the children, I would appeal this decision in whatever way you feasibly can.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like they're in like a psychological blender of trauma, and you're asking me the best way to stick your hand in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think there's no good answer here.
yeah, I mean, I think all you can do is, if you are, you understand that by the more you involve yourself in this, the more you're going to get hurt, and not just hurt, but like damaged. You accept this?
Yes.
Okay. I think all you can do is just try to stay close to them. I don't, and maybe help them form relationships with as many adults as possible. Trusted adults like therapists, tutors, teachers, people they can look up to, friends, summer camp counselors, anyone who can provide them some sort of compass for understanding what's happening to them and having other places to turn to. In my crystal ball, I see boyfriends in mom's future who are abusive. I see them in situation. I just see many more very bad things happening down the road.
Yeah.
And I think the more adults there are in the room, the better the kids are going to be, the better off they're going to be. I think with the oldest, I mean, therapy. They I think as much therapy as you can get anyone into. I also think you should go to therapy.
Yeah.
Because this is not a. I'm saying it's a blender for a reason, because the amount that you're going to be able to help compared to the amount of damage that is going to do to you is not going to be a great trade-off. And I understand wanting to, but you should do it with open eyes and as much care for yourself as possible too.
Yeah.
Do you live near this family?
Yeah. I mean, within like half an hour, 20 minutes.
I think my only really concrete advice is that you should go to therapy and that you should try to get this case looked at again.
Yeah, that is a good idea. I don't think any well, I mean, they've had CPS in and out their whole lives, as you can imagine, but
yeah,
never, giving them more reminders can never hurt.
Yeah. They're gonna hate you.
Yeah. I can see that too.
They're gonna be really nice at first, especially the oldest, I think, is gonna be really nice, and it's gonna feel really easy. And then she's gonna turn on you.
Yeah.
Viciously. And I think if you are gonna step into this role, you owe it to her to stick it out through that vicious period, which could last a really long time.
Yeah, right now she's 13. So there's a long road ahead of her as far as growing up with this. And
wait, the victim is 13 but the oldest is 16?
Yeah. The oldest,
Okay.
there's 2 boys older than her. 3 boys older than her.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she, I am prepared for emotions and feelings and words that don't necessarily make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think you're going to become a lightning rod for everything that her parents can't handle, which is everything.
Yeah.
Just get as much help as you can. Don't try to do this by yourself.
I will do my best. I think that's pretty much, my dad said, you know, the worst thing we could do is nothing. And I agree with that.
Maybe. It might be worse for you to offer to help and then collapse.
That's true.
Because they're already all going to feel like they're a burden that nobody wants to deal with. And that everything's their fault. So if you give them an experience that confirms that, that might be worse than nothing. But my sense from talking to you is that you're not going to do that. That
I
said,
do everything in my power not to do that.
okay, so that's why you need a therapist for yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got this, bro.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye. The last one broke me. No, it didn't break me. I'm just saying. I'm not disgusted by the chat. I just don't want to talk about callers after they leave, and that's all you're talking about. So I'm just waiting for you to be done. Hey, Mr. Girl. Is advice and confessions trying to be what therapy is not? Like exclusively giving advice, listening confessions is not the purpose of therapy. No, it's, I mean, yeah, I don't want to be a therapist, so it's more just, a series of intimate moments, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what it's trying to be. Why'd you pick advice and confession specifically? I don't know. It just popped in my... I was like, I should have a weekly call-in show. And then like 5 seconds later, I was like, it should be called Advice and Confessions. And then I told Baby to make it so. And now here we are. Do you think part of... Mr. Girl, do you think part of your hate for Dr. K comes from him being Indian? No, I don't think so. Do you have any advice for first-time therapy goers? Don't be afraid to give feedback to the therapist. If you feel like it's not going well or you're concerned, you think they're wasting your time, you feel like it's too expensive, whatever, just say what you're thinking. If you're nice to your therapist, you'll just be paying them so that you can be nice to them. Do you make money on merch sales? Yeah. Not a lot, but I do make some money, yeah. When's the last time you cleaned your kitchen? Shaylin cleaned the entire kitchen yesterday, coincidentally. So I don't know. Who's your favorite stand-up comedian? I don't know. They're all so sad. I don't like stand-up comedy that much because they all just seem really sad, like they're about to burst into tears if you don't laugh at their jokes. Maybe Eddie Murphy. I don't know. Who's Baby? Baby is the admin of the Discord. Max, your thesis on pedophilia and that it lies on social media tool creators. Let's call pedophilia is the attraction to children. So let's call it grooming, because I think that we're talking about child grooming. Why do you feel the blame lies more on the creators of social media and creators like myself, and not more on the parents of the children being groomed? Because parents have been put in a confusing, impossible situation by the social media tools that their children are given. There's no real functional way to stop your child from communicating with strangers on the internet. No amount of blockers or restricting devices or whatever. There's a way for your child to get access to a computer or to a tablet that you don't know about, and on an internet connection that you don't know about, and talk to their favorite YouTuber, streamer, about whatever that streamer or YouTuber wants to talk to them about. There's just and parents don't understand what's happening anyway. So they don't even understand it well enough to try to stop it, and then even if they did, they couldn't. It's been made extremely easy. So I mean, yeah, you should, you know, try to know what your kid is doing. But after a certain point, when the kid's 13 or 14, it's weird. It's a weird level of closeness and oversight that is required to stop somebody from doing these things. It's not normal historically. You know, you want to be able to give your kid some breathing room and not be looking over their shoulder. But then we give them a device and the social media platforms that make it so that maybe we should be looking over their shoulder. And like, I just think that, and all the blame game, all the finger pointing that happens, no one seems to seriously, or at least not enough people are seriously questioning how these matches are being made by these companies and how they benefit from it. You would low-key make a great dad. Maybe one day. We'll find out. We'll find out the hard way, if that's true. I was talking to all kinds of weirdos on the internet when I was 11, and I'm still doing it for some reason. Yeah, I was sexting with motherfuckers in chat rooms when I was 10. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Save Shayla. Is it even possible to stop? There will always be a new app willing to do it, probably. I think so. I think that when people my age who... I think by the time millennials are like senators, a lot of that shit's going to stop. I think that the people who make the rules just don't understand what's going on. And worse than that, they can't understand it even when it's being explained to them. If the real doll gets pregnant, will you raise the baby? Yes. Mr. Girl, have you seen The Lighthouse? Good movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's good. Do you support the Earn It Act? I don't know what that is. Rubber Max, baby. Yeah. Boomers just think the internet is this neat thing like the camera or the television. Yeah. Are you going to interview a map at some point? I did. I interviewed a map. I prefer the term pedophile. I interviewed a pedophile a couple days ago. It's on my channel and on this channel. You say that historically it's not normal and borderline boundary crossing for parents to be that involved, but with the evolution of tech, do you feel like these normalities should evolve? I don't think so. I don't think that's a solution. Parents monitoring their children's phones and thoughts and writings and pictures, I don't think is the solution. I think that the companies that provide the connections between adults and children that they don't know, and who are only talking to them because they're fans of them, and the adults are only talking to the minors because they want praise or something else. I think that's where the most attention needs to be made. I don't think we necessarily need to stop high school kids from sending each other nudes. That I don't care about that. I don't think that's much of a problem. It can be, and maybe it is, but it ain't nothing compared to the like grooming industry of content creators and their fans. You should use the term nonce like Chud does. It's clear. You've all lost the plot. Nonce. You've lost the plot. Mr. Girl. Okay. We're done here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching my show. I appreciate it. My next stream will be shit, do I have any interviews planned for this week? I think I might need to oh, I'm going on Drunken Peasants podcast Tuesday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. And I got to find an interview or something for this week in addition, most likely. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just that. And then the debate about sexual liberation with Daniel Hakikachu. Is that right? Hakikachu? Saturday night at 9 p.m. I might add an interview. That will be announced on Twitter and on my calendar. Thank you for coming. Goodbye.